Very good evening to all of you, and thanks for joining in this webinar on how to create and protect your wealth using FP360, Financial Plan 360 degrees. Okay. Now, um, to begin with, on the left side of your screen, you will see chats. There is an option for chats. I want you to click on chats and open the chat box. So I want all of you to go in chats, which is on the left hand side of your screen, and open the chat box. Now I'm about to ask you a question, and I want you to put your answer in that chat box. Okay. So ready for the question? The question is how to get rich, make more money, become wealthy, and achieve all your financial goals comfortably. Okay, I'm repeating the question again. How to get rich, make more money, become wealthy, achieve your goals comfortably. I want you to put the answers in the chat box. So please go ahead and start putting your answers in the chat box. I want you to put the answer in the chat box. The question is, what do you need to get rich, make more money, become wealthy, achieve your financial goals comfortably? What do you need to do that? Okay, excellent. We have got the answer started coming in, and some bonus points for the first 4 or 5 answers. So the answers is you have to be a disciplined investor. Very good. Buy good debt-free companies and buy at a good valuation. The goal should be long-term. Excellent. Consistency in investment is another answer that we have got. Excellent. Okay. Waiting for 1 or 2 more answers. What do you need to do to get rich, make more money, become wealthy, achieve all your financial goals? Maybe one more answer. Okay. Whatever you think. One more answer. Most important thing, the number one thing to get rich, make more money, become wealthy. Okay, fine. So I'll go ahead with the answers that I've got. Thanks for participating, Amol, Sagar. Okay, Mr. Wadekar, thank you for participating. Optimize your asset allocation and asset class. Excellent. Okay. So I've got some good answers, but I'm looking for a specific term, okay, which I have not got yet. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a hint. Okay. The hint is the presentation that you will see for the next about 20 minutes. You will see something, some presentation, and that is your hint. So you have to take that hint and give me the answer again. Remember, the question is the most important thing to get rich, make more money, become wealthy. For that, the hint is the presentation that you will see for the next 20-25 minutes. And at the end of the presentation, I want you to give me the answer again. Okay. So are you all ready for it? So let's go. What do you need to get rich, make more money, become wealthy, and achieve all your financial goals? The answer depends on what do you do with these 4 things of your personal finance: your income, expense, assets, liabilities. For a person, normally income is salary, profession. The first thing that happens to his income is he has to pay tax on that income. After that, money goes out in liabilities, paying home EMI, car EMI, etc. And then you also need some money to pay your day-to-day expenses, and that is the third place where your money goes out. Now, for a lot of people, the problem is the money comes in like this and the money keeps going out, and that's why it becomes compulsory for them to work, because only when they will work, they will get this money using which they meet their expense, pay their liabilities, and so on and so forth. Now, a lot of people have to work really hard for money, and this in personal finance, and maybe you have come across this term earlier. In personal finance, this is called as rat race. Rat race means you have to constantly work hard for money all the time. Now, the first step to get rich is to get out of the rat race. Okay. So now we will see how to get out of the rat race. So if you have money coming in, going out in liabilities, you have to ask, what can I do about these liabilities? Are these liabilities good or bad? Now, for people in the rat race, liabilities are bad because they take money out of their pocket and they keep them in the rat race. But for people who are not in the rat race, example, rich people, liabilities are good. More liabilities they have, more richer they can get. So let me explain why am I saying what I'm saying. I'll give you an example of a good liability. Okay. So let's say you have got a house property in which you want to invest 50 lakhs. Two options. One is you take 50 lakhs out of your pocket, invest in the house. That's one way to do it. The second option is you go to a bank, borrow 50 lakhs from the bank and invest in the house, which means take a loan or a liability. Bank will not give you money for free. It will charge you an interest, let's say 11% per annum. But the 50 lakhs that you have invested in the house, let's say gives you a return on investment of 15% per annum. So you get the point that you are making some profit over here. There will be a net inflow of 4% in spite of taking a loan. Such liability, we call it as good liabilities, because such liabilities puts money in your pocket rather than taking it out, and that's why we call it as good liabilities. In short, liabilities are good if the rate at which you borrow is less than the rate at which you are investing that money. If you are able to borrow at 10-11% and invest that money at 15-20%, you will make some inflow out of that liabilities, and such liabilities we classify as good liabilities because they are not a burden. They don't take money out of your pocket, rather they put money in your pocket. Now to make this 4%, how much did I invest? How much did I invest to make this 4%? The answer is zero, because I did not use my money to make this 4%. I got it from the bank. So the second reason why am I saying that liabilities are good is that every time you take a loan, it gives you an opportunity to use other people's money to make profit for yourself. Like here, I'm using bank's money to create an asset for me and generate a cash flow for myself without having to put my own money. A lot of people think you need money to make more money, but there are many ways in which you can create assets without having to use your money. One way is to use liabilities, where you use other people's money to create asset for yourself, and beyond that there are many other ways you can create assets without any money. So you don't need money to get rich or make more money, become wealthy. There is something else. That is what you have to tell me after seeing this presentation. But at this point in time, the third reason why I'm saying this liabilities can be good is I'll repay this loan using EMIs, etc. And the principal I repay, I get tax deduction under Section 80C. Interest I repay, I get tax deduction under Section 24B. Point is, liabilities can also help you to save a lot of tax. Any good liability will not only put money in your pocket, will give you an opportunity to use somebody else's money, and it will also help you to save quite a bit of tax. And all this in one word is called as liabilities management. Okay, so liabilities are neither good neither bad. It depends on what you do with that liability. For example, if you borrow for an education loan, it's a good liability because going forward it will give you back in return, much more than what you have, you are repaying for that liability. Similarly, borrowing for, let's say, a car loan is a bad liability because you are putting that money in an asset which is depreciating and you don't get anything back from that asset. So liabilities can be good and bad, and it really depends on how you manage those liabilities. So if you see your money is going out in liabilities, what we do is liabilities management, so that you have less money going out over here. Then you see your money is going out in expense. Now expense can also be good and bad. For people in the rat race, expenses are bad, you want to reduce them. But people not in the rat race, expenses can actually be good. In fact, more you spend, more richer you can get. So again, let me explain why am I saying what I'm saying. First, let's talk about bad expense. Let's say someone in the rat race spends 60 rupee a day on bad expense like smoking, drinking, etc. Now, people in the rat race think if I spend 60 rupees a day on such things, smoking, drinking, etc., I'm not going to get poor. Okay, I'm not going to get poor if I spend, 40, 50 rupees a day or 60 rupees a day in bad liabilities or bad expenses. But people not in the rat race understand that 60 rupee a day, if you invest it somewhere at 15-20% for 15-20 years, you will end up having 1.75 to 2 crores of rupees, which you can use for any of your financial goals. In one word, this is basically power of compounding. Point is, small financial decisions that you take has got huge repercussion on your finances over a period of time, because of power of compounding. But people don't understand this when they are making their expenses, and they feel that these small expenses are not affecting my wealth. But over a period of time, the effect gets compounded and makes a lot of difference to your wealth. Okay, I'll give you one more example of expense. Let's say you have. Okay, I just want to confirm. See, there is a message I've got which says that you are not able to hear me. So I just want you to confirm if you can hear me. Just put a yes in the chat box. Can you hear me? Yes. So people are able to hear me. Others can. Okay, great, superb. So I got this message from Gaurav. Not able to see or hear anything. You need to. So you can see as well as hear me at this point in time. Okay. Please just confirm yes, that you just put that you can see and hear me. Okay, in the chat box just put that you can see and hear me at this point in time. Okay, so people can see and hear me. If some of you all, I can see and hear you. Okay, great. Great, thank you so much. And in case if someone is not able to do that, then you just need to ensure that your your video, your audio is correct. Okay, so just try to figure that out. But I think most of the people can see and hear me, so I'll just continue where I left. So I'm giving you one example of expense management. Okay, again you have to tell me the answer. There is a company has income minus expense is equal to profit. Profit is very less. What do they need to do about their expense? I'm repeating again the question. Company has income minus expense is equal to profit. Is less. What do you need to do about the expense? The answer is you have to increase them. Don't decrease them, you have to increase them. Because if you think that let's decrease my expense to increase the profit, what will happen is you will remove sales people, you will do less advertising, marketing, promotion. The expense will go down, but income will go down even more. Your profit will go down even more. Whereas if you think let me increase my expense, so you spend more on sales, promotion, marketing, advertising, hire more sales people, expense increases but income increases even more. As long as your income increases more than your expense, it is good to do that expense. The point I'm trying to tell you is there are some expenses which are good. A good expense, just like good liability, gives you something back in return of a value higher than what you have put. Then it is good to do that expense. In personal finance, another example of good expense is buying some good books, upscaling yourself, doing some course which can help you in your profession, attending some seminar which can help you in your profession, joining, taking gym membership. All these are examples of good expense. And the effect of what you do with your expense, as I mentioned, gets compounded over a period of time and can make a lot of difference to your wealth. Okay, so the point is, uh, if you see your money is going out in expense, what you need to do is expense management and budgeting does not mean you reduce your expense. It just means that you have to because expense can be good and bad, so you have to choose your expense what you want to do, and you do that correctly, you have less money going out over here as well. Now the only place where your money is going out is taxes. So if you see your money is going out in tax, what can you do? Now again, people in the rat race, they pay taxes, but people not in the rat race, they don't pay taxes. As you get richer and richer, the tax that you pay will be lesser and lesser, most of the time even zero, which means what I'm saying is rich people don't pay taxes. Now, why am I saying like this? As you get richer and richer, tax is lesser and lesser, most of the time zero. Rich people don't pay tax. You'll get the answer in a bit because you'll have to see few more things before you get the answer. But at this point, you understand that let's say they do a lot of tax planning, so they have less money going out over here. Why these three things are important is that less money goes out, more money in your hand. And once you have more money in your hand, what you do with that is invest that money. And every time you invest, your money goes here in creating assets, stocks, bonds, debentures, real estate, gold, mutual funds, etc. This is the most important difference between people in the rat race and people not in the rat race. The difference is people in the rat race, the cash flow is the money comes in, The money comes in and the money goes out in tax, expenses, liabilities, etc. But people not in the rat race, because they do these three things: tax planning, expense management, liability management, the money doesn't go out, it comes over here in assets. And once you have more money in assets, assets are anything that generates income, either dividend, interest, or capital gains or rent. But once you have money coming in assets, your income increases. And what you do with this additional income is you create more assets. The assets can create more income. The income can create more assets. And like that, you have started a cycle of passive income for yourself. Passive because you don't have to work for this money compared to this first income for which you have to work. At one point in time, your passive income will be much more than what you need for your standard of living and much more than your earned income. And at that point, you are no longer financially dependent on your earned income. It means that you are financially free. Meaning your financial freedom is you don't have to work for money because you are not dependent on the money that is coming from your work. In other words, financial freedom means you don't have to work hard for money because you are making your money work hard for you so that you don't have to work hard for money. Why is it important to get rich using passive income? I'll tell you 3 points why you can get rich only by not working. That doesn't mean that you don't work, but you cannot get rich by working. 3 points, okay? Think like this. You try to increase this income from your work to get rich. You will have to go on working more and more, okay? But if you increase this income to get rich, the income keeps increasing whether you work or no. In other words, it is easier to increase this income compared to this income. It's not that you are lazy that you don't want to work, but this income from passive income from one arrow it becomes two, from two becomes three, whether if you don't do anything and it keeps increasing. But it takes a lot of effort to increase this income because the money comes from your work and you'll have to work more and more to keep making more and more money. This is the first reason why am I saying that you should choose passive income to get rich compared to earned income. The second reason is this. Even still, if you feel that you need to work hard to get rich, which means you are trying to get rich using this earned income, the problem of increasing this income is you will not only work more and more, but you will end up paying more and more in taxes because this income is heavily taxed. You bring 1 crore as salary, you end up paying 30 lakhs in tax. But if you bring 1 crore from assets instead of from your work, let's say long-term capital gains from real estate, the tax that you pay on that is zero if you use section 54, 54F, 54EC. If you want to make if you make 1 crore from your equity investments and you want to make it zero, there are different ways to do that. For example, every time you rebalance your portfolio, sell equity, buy bonds, there is capital gain implication. But if you do that rebalancing under a ULIP, you don't pay any tax on that. In the end, what money you get from ULIP is also tax free. The money you put in ULIP is also available for tax deduction under 80C. If you don't want to invest in ULIP, still you can make your equity and mutual funds investment tax free using section 54, 54F, 54EC. If you want tax free interest, you can invest in Sukanya Samruddhi scheme, PPF, etc. You want to make your gold capital gains tax free, you can invest in sovereign gold bond. The point is there is a lot of scope for tax planning for the money that you get from your assets compared to money that you get from your investments, compared to money that you get from your work. And that is the second reason why I'm saying it's important that you use the passive income to get rich compared to earned income. Because if you try to increase earned income to get rich, you will work more and more and pay more and more in tax. But if you increase passive income to get rich, you will work less and less and pay less and less in tax. And most of the time, even zero, because there is a lot of scope for tax planning for the money that comes from your compared to money that comes from your work. And that's why I'm saying rich people, earn more and pay less taxes, most of the time even zero, because if you see a rich person's income, expense, assets and liabilities, most of their money is coming from here compared to from their work. Okay, so the third reason why I'm saying it's important to have passive income to get rich compared to earned income, the third reason is this. There is a limit to how much money you can bring from your work. Why is there a limit to how much money you can bring from your work? because the money that you bring, it depends on your work. Let's say you work for 5 hours a day and make 10,000, and then you think, how can I make more money? So you start working for 10 hours and make 20,000. Okay, but there is a limit to how many hours a day you can work, and that's why there is a limit to how much money you can increase by working. There is limit to how many days, how many hours a day you can work. There is limit to number of days in a week you can work. There is limit to number of years you can work. At one time you will have to retire, and if you stop working, then your money stops, if money depends on your work. And that's the reason why I'm saying there is limit to how much money you can bring by working, because there is limit to how much you can work, and that's why there is limit to how much money you can bring by working, and that's why this income is limited. But the second income keeps increasing whether you work or no. From one arrow it becomes two, from two it becomes three, from three it can become four, and four it can become five. You don't do anything and it keeps increasing. And that's why, how much money can you bring like this? The answer is unlimited. The only way to make unlimited wealth is to make money by making your money work for you rather than you working hard for money. Okay, and that's why wealth is defined as number of years you can maintain your standard of living without having to work is your wealth. Okay, wealth is how much you can make by not working. Okay, and how to make money by not working? The answer is assets, because assets put money in your pocket whether you work or no. So wealth in one word is how many assets you have. Okay, it's not your salary, how much you are earning. It's not your standard of living, the house that you have, the car that you have, because they don't generate income. It's those assets that create income is your wealth, because that's the only way to not only work less, pay less in tax, but actually earn more. So most of the people think, how can I work more and make more money? They should be thinking is, how can I work less and make more money? And the answer to that is having assets. Okay, so everyone is with me so far, and everyone has got some perspective about wealth. So I'm coming back to my original questions, and you have to again put your answer in the chat box. Okay. So be ready to put your answer in the chat box. I'm asking you the original question with which we started. The question is, what do you need to get rich, make more money, become wealthy, and achieve all your financial goals? Okay. Start putting in your answer. You've got the hint. What do you need to get rich, make more money, become wealthy, and achieve all your financial goals comfortably? Excellent. I've got the first answer, assets. Okay. Assets. What else? Yes. How will you have more assets? Steady stream of passive income. Excellent. What else? What do you need to get rich, make more money? Assets, passive income, cumulative income, multiple source of income. Okay. So thank you so much for participating. Okay. Thank you again so much for participating. I'll just give you answer in a bit. Okay. So the answer is the comprehensive. We would be diversified while investing. Fixed income, fair enough. Okay. So the answer is everything that you saw for the last 15-20 minutes. Okay. Can you see that first you will have to do tax planning, expense management, and liability management? So less money going out, more money coming here. Then you need to do good investments that you're saying, fixed income, and make your money work for you. And then you will have to do this consistently year on year. And that's how you'll keep building more and more wealth, or more and more assets. In other words, you will have to take a 360-degree view to your finances to get rich, make more money, become wealthy. Everything is connected. You make some investment, it affects your tax. You take some liabilities, it affects your retirement. Or you take some liability, you save some tax on that. So you have to take a 360-degree view of your finances and a 360-degree approach to your finances to get rich, make more money, become wealthy. One platform, one state of the art technology driven platform that takes a 360-degree approach to your finances to help you achieve your financial goals. We call this as financial plan 360 degrees. A comprehensive financial plan is, a comprehensive financial plan includes how to manage your wealth by managing taxes, managing expense, managing liabilities, how to build wealth using investment planning, and then how to protect that wealth, that assets, using insurance planning, and you know, emergency funds, and then how to transfer this wealth so that generation this passive income can continue for generations and generations. And that's why you also have how to transfer your wealth to the next generation by wills and estate planning as a part of a comprehensive financial plan. So this is a 360-degree approach that we take in Financial Plan 360 or FP 360 in this product. Okay, so this is one of the most important feature of the product, and the another most unique feature about FP360 is the unique model portfolio based approach towards investing and asset allocation. Okay, so now I'll be talking a bit more about the second unique feature about FP360 or Financial Plan 360 is asset allocation and model portfolios. Now we follow a certain steps in asset allocation, and I'll run you through these steps how your model portfolios and asset allocations are done using FP360. So, so the first step in the model portfolio asset allocation approach, okay, the first step is uh, we collect your risk profile, financial goals, investment objective, of the client through a system driven process. Now, for this, let me talk about first of all what is asset allocation. Asset allocation is diversifying your investments across different assets. You don't want to keep all your eggs in one basket. So, typical investment portfolio should have multiple assets: stock, bond, debenture, real estate, gold, mutual funds. And then there is further diversification within each asset class. Like within what I have in equity, I can diversify it across different sectors, stocks of different sectors, and then different stocks in that sector. And that's how I build a diversified portfolio. And what should be the constituent of the portfolio, which assets, all this thing comes under asset allocation. Okay, now a lot of factors go in deciding your asset allocation, but the three primary one is what you see in your screen. First of all, what is your investment objective? Is it capital appreciation? Then I'll give you asset allocation accordingly. Is it capital preservation? Accordingly, I'll give you your asset allocation. Is it regular income for which you are investing? So again, the assets will be different. Are you investing to meet your liquidity needs? So again, your assets will be different. So investment objective is one of the main factors beside your asset allocation. The second is financial goals. Okay, so typically for a long-term goal, your asset allocation can be towards more assets like equity, where you're not worried about short-term volatility or fluctuations in your portfolio because you're investing that money for the long term. So ideally, money that you don't need for next 5 to 8 years should form part of the equity portfolio. So for those goals, so can you see how you're using your financial goals as direction as to what should be your asset allocation in the portfolio? So medium term goal, again, the assets will be different. Short term goals can be, short term mutual funds, and for liquidity needs, there can be liquid funds. So that's how I'll decide what should be the composition of the assets in my portfolio using financial goals. And the third factor that I look at for deciding the asset allocation is the risk profile. How much of fluctuations in your portfolio are you okay with? 100% equity portfolio will be very fluctuating, going up and down. If you add a little bit of debt, let's say 20-25%, the fluctuation reduces. If I add more debt, let's say 50% equity, 50% debt, the fluctuation in my portfolio even reduces further. So what level of fluctuation I'm okay with, accordingly I'll decide, how much should be in equity, how much should be in debt, and so on and so forth. So this is briefly how you decide your asset allocation, and for that you understand so many factors go into it. And that's why the first step in our model portfolio approach is we collect this data from the client through a system driven process. So everything is technology driven. Online, the client provides the data about, for example, risk profile, etc. And that is the first step. The second step is, based on this data, we design a model portfolio that is in complete alignment to the financial goals of the client, risk profile of the client, investment objective. So you get a unique portfolio just for you based on your needs, preferences, aspirations, and desires. The next step is we take your existing financial situation, we analyze that, which includes your existing investments, and then we align this investments because your existing portfolio might not be, true to your investment objective, financial goals, and all those things. And that's why the first, your existing investment are to be aligned to the model portfolio investments, which the model portfolio being your true portfolio as per your needs, etc. And this process is called as restructuring, and that is step 3. And once you have your portfolio restructured, and then it has to be monitored and tracked regularly, and regular balancing is required, because the constituents of portfolio, the weightages will keep changing depending on changing market condition, and has to rebalance at regular intervals so that it remains balanced and it remains true to the asset allocation that we have decided for you. So this is the unique model portfolio based approach of asset allocation that we follow at FP360. And next, so two important things that we have gone through: the 360-degree approach to your finances and the model portfolio based approach towards investments and asset allocation. And I'll briefly summarize this in terms of the salient feature of FP360. The most important is 360-degree approach. We already spoke about this. Client centric advice. Okay, because we are giving you advice based on your financial goals, objectives, investment objectives, risk profile. So truly customized advice for the client. The advice is given using sophisticated financial analytical tools that are available at the back end of FP360. The advice is completely unbiased. If you ask if I ask you to buy or sell a particular mutual fund, or buy or sell particular stocks, we do not get any brokerage or commissions from the advice that we give you. This means we give you unbiased advice, not because there are some brokerages or commissions attached to the advice. This means that so because we don't receive brokerage or commissions, we charge a fee for our professional services. So this ensures that our interest and the client's interests are in complete alignment. So client gets the advice not because of any brokerage or commission that we receive, but because it is truly what is needed for the client according to the client's profile. And this also means there are no transaction costs. So any stocks, mutual funds you buy and sell from us, we do not charge any execution cost for those things. And another unique salient feature of FP360 is the whole process is technology driven, right from collecting data from you, onboarding you, to giving you advice, to making your plan, and then finally executing the plan, and then finally reporting it to you. Okay, there are smart reporting tools where once your plan is made, your portfolio is restructured, you can track your portfolio 24/7 through the client portal of FP360, and where you can analyze your portfolio, you get the returns, you get the systematic transactions, the bonus, dividend, interest that you receive. You can track it over there, and you can generate smart reports out of this client portal, which you can save it for your future reference. So that is another. So the whole process is technology driven, and that gives a lot of comfort, and the whole process becomes hassle free for the client, right from onboarding to tracking the investment, and then reviewing the portfolio at regular intervals. Okay, and apart from that, the client gets a dedicated relationship manager and access to a specialized expert for advisory support as well. And the whole bouquet of investment products are available, which gives a lot of flexibility to the advisor to choose the right product and give it to the client. So in FP360 you can invest in direct equity, mutual funds, MLDs or market linked debentures, NCDs, or corporate debentures, and corporate FDs, bonds, PMS, alternative investments, private equity, venture capital, real estate advisory, sovereign gold bonds as well. Access to institutional level research and reports is another thing that you get. And you also get access to knowledge-based seminars by industry experts. So this is basically actually just a tip of the iceberg. The capability of the platform is much beyond the scope of this webinar, but I've tried to give you a good idea about what FP360 is all about and how you can create and protect your wealth using FP360. Okay, thank you everyone for joining in, taking the time out and joining in for this webinar. If you have any questions, put up in the chat box. For next 5-10 minutes, I'll try to answer your questions, and then we will close the session. Thank you once again for joining in for this session. Okay, if anyone has any questions, just put in your questions in the chat box. How is it different from PMS or portfolio management service. So basically, in a PMS or even for a mutual fund, that for that matter, there are certain standard PMSs or products. So let's say there can be a large cap fund, or that can be some investment theme. Let's say a banking PM, a fund that PMS that invests in a value stocks. So like that, these PMSs are created. Now, how will you know whether this PMS is suitable to you or not? So in FP360, the idea is that we don't say that right now the markets are low, these are the good portfolio to invest in and invest in that. We don't do that. We start with you. So what are your financial goals? What are your investment objectives? So financial planning is more about choosing the right investment products and designing a customized portfolio for you rather than investing as a standard PMSs, which may not necessarily, they might be good, but not necessarily according to your profile or your risk appetite or your financial goals and all these factors. So over here, we follow a model portfolio based approach, but the model portfolio is, there's impossible to have a separate PMS for each client. But this is more like a separate model customized portfolio according to the client. So this is more a more customized approach, let's say, towards investing compared to having a PMS. I would also like to invest this. I'll also like to inform shortly. We are also starting FP360 PMS, which will work on the similar lines. Okay. So because then it can be a discretionary PMS where the client gives the detail, and they get the advantage of the expert advisor who would managing and the whole asset allocation if the client wants to do so. So the client will have the option as FP360 PMS or to join as a normal FP360 client, where we'll be coordinating with the client every time we make any changes to their model portfolios or anything. But in either case, the difference between this and any other PMS is this is more client centric as per the financial goals, as per the risk profile, investment objectives. These are first captured and then the investment advice, etc., is given. Okay. The next question is, can we say this is wealth management and what is the ticket size? Okay. So for if you're looking at FP360 PMS, minimum ticket size of course becomes 50 lakhs, but otherwise right now the product is open, but a 10 lakh plus kind of a customer can be an FP360 customer, but more AUM or asset under advisory that the client brings, they get the benefit in charges. Okay. So someone bringing in 10 lakhs and paying 1% would be different from someone bringing more AUA, and then the charges will turn out to be much lesser. So in that sense, it would be ideal for a client having an AUA of around 50 lakhs plus. Okay, but at this point, even asset less than 50 lakhs are onboarded on FP360 and can benefit by getting onboarded on FP360. Okay. So can we say that I want to invest in Tata Motors at CMP? It is for the long term. This is beyond the scope for this presentation because this would be mainly about FP360, how it can help you to create and protect your wealth. We can talk about more broader asset allocation perspectives and all those things. So let me cover at least other questions first, and then maybe we can see what we can do. Can you elaborate more on FP360 PMS? It's little futuristic. At this point, it's better that I handle questions which are more relevant to what is our current offering. The PMS is in the pipeline, and you will definitely get to know more about it as soon as it is launched. Can I migrate my existing investment to this platform and also have advice on tax planning and liability management as a subscriber? The whole idea is of FP360 is that you get a comprehensive view of your finance, and then advice is to be given. So tax management, liability management, insurance planning, all this will be considered while we make financial plans for you. And these things are getting added in a phased manner, and it will be available to the subscribers joining in right now. And the first step is basically investment planning, and then also then risk planning and tax management and liability management. all these things will be catered to the client. To begin with, it will start with bringing in your existing investment or existing portfolio, looking at it whether it is in line with your investment objective, risk profile, etc. Then restructuring that portfolio and rebalancing it as per your risk profile. These are the things to start with. This is the first step of FP360, and then gradually over a period of time you would be catered with insurance planning, tax planning, liability management, etc. Okay, thank you very much for the informative seminar. You're welcome, Dinesh. Gaurav is asking if the client wants to invest only in direct equity through FP360, can he choose some stocks where he wants to invest? Yes, we would be advising on the model portfolios and what is right for the client, but it's a fiduciary product, which means I cannot invest based on my assessment. It is ultimately client who decides. So they can take the advice, or they may choose to take the advice partially, or they may like the advice but want to do their own investments. They are free to do that. In that case also, there is no brokerage charge on whatever mutual funds or stocks they buy or sell, but they will be receiving advice which is truly the best for them, and then it is really up to them how they want to follow it at one go over a period of time, or they would like to have some of their own investments other than what is advised. The clients can do that. Okay, will this protect our corpus? Yes. So it really depends on your asset allocation. So if you're talking about will it protect our corpus, then you should have an asset allocation which is more capital protection oriented, maybe 70-80% in debt and 20-30% in equity. It will ensure that the 70-80% will ensure that your capital is protected over a period of time, and another 20-30% that you put in equity will just ensure that you will get returns higher than inflation post tax. And that's how you can protect also. If that is the thing, then we can have portfolio designed accordingly. What is the fee charged? You will get the information, but it's like about 1% for 10 lakh and less of AUA that you give for advisory. And as you increase your AUA, the charges become less. We can send you the charges, detailed charge structure, but it depends also on how much of asset under advisory that you are bringing in FP360, and the charges will be according to that. How FP360 is diversified? I already showed you the product bouquet. You can invest in stocks, bonds, debentures, real estate, gold, mutual fund, NCDs. Okay, alternative investments, MLDs, corporate FDs, and whole sovereign gold bond, whole hosts of, and it's an open architecture. So even products beyond the IFL securities can be considered if they form a good fit in the portfolio. So you will truly have a diversified option. It will really depend on the client's risk profile and all those factors, what asset allocation to give. But it is a truly diversified across investment classes and asset classes. Okay, so thank you very much for joining in for this presentation, and I'll just wait. Yes, and if I'll just wait for one last question if it is there. Otherwise, I'll just stop. So one last question anyone wants to ask, they can ask. Otherwise, we will close this session. Okay. Okay, you're welcome. So thank you all for. I appreciate the thank yous that you are sending over here, and you're most welcome. And I appreciate that you all took the time to attend this webinar. Okay. Okay. So we will close the seminar over here, and looking forward to hear from you soon. And goodbye. Take care. Happy investing. Thank you.